Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. Welcome to my channel. So today I have felt impressed to share a personal experience that I've had a couple of weeks ago. I wouldn't normally share this experience just because it's so personal and so sacred to me, but I feel there's a reason that I feel impressed to share it. I have a talk pulled up here that has been on my mind in relationship to this experience. And I want to go over a few of the things that really stuck with me from this talk. But first, maybe I'll start with the experience. So I'm sorry, I'm out of breath because I'm at the end stages of my pregnancy. So forgive me if I'm, catching my breath a lot and rambling. I've just had a hard time recording videos lately, and I'm trying out a new setup, so I'm a little bit nervous today. So what happened was, I have had a few near-death experiences in my life. I am not gonna get into them because this isn't a video about that, but just so you get an idea, when I was about 1.5, I was run over by a car, full on over my whole body, and there was nothing really wrong with me. Not only did I not die, but I didn't break any bones. Didn't crush any of my organs or anything like that. The only thing that happened was I dislocated a shoulder and I had road rash, but that was all that happened. And they took me to the hospital, and the doctors couldn't believe that had happened. And my family is showing them my shirt with the tire tracks, and this happened, and they couldn't believe it. And for anyone who is a believer in miracles and in God being a God of miracles, you probably have heard of experiences like that, especially if you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There have been many accounts of things like that happening. But this experience isn't really about the miracle of my life being saved, but more specifically about the angels that participated in saving me. Because I truly believe that I don't know exactly how that would have worked, but as I've thought about, have my family talk about it to me, and with the other near-death experiences I've had where I was older and I was able to investigate those experiences further, I have become convinced that these angels have been an extremely important and big part of my life since I was really young. And since I had always known that this had happened since I was one, it was always really, I guess it was really daunting to me to think about it, because I could have died and it really easily. And the reason I didn't is because God didn't want me to die then. It was not my time. So I always thought that there's got to be something important that I got to do with my life, even if that is, becoming a wife and a mother. That would only happen if I grew up to be an adult. So I had always known that it was important that I lived and that I should safeguard my life. But I have recently been talking to my mom about one of my experiences that I hadn't realized was a near-death experience until lately, over a decade later. Been thinking about how the angels were able to get me out of that situation. And it was like, it turned out to be a very positive experience looking back, because I realized how great the power of God is, and of the angels that were protecting me in that specific situation and all the other ones. But that same day that I was talking to my mom about this, she was telling me that she had just gone to the temple a few days before, and she had done an ordinance for one of our ancestors that she felt really close to, and that she felt that she was there. And as we were talking, she started tearing up, and she's like, I feel like she's telling me that she was the one who was there with you, like she was the angel taking care of you back then. Which, of course, we don't know that for sure, but this is just the experience. I'm just relating what we felt. And my mom is not an emotional person. Like, I had hardly ever seen her cry. So for her to become emotional like that is a rare occurrence. But she was telling, and it was a really special experience just to think about that, and think that our ancestors are part of our life here, even though we can't see them and we can't really interact with them. They are in the spirit world, and they are aware of us, and they want to take care of us. And that's the promise that we have from doing temple work and doing vicarious work for our ancestors. We are helping them, and they are helping us, and it's happening right now. And what happened a couple of weeks ago, which is what led me to make this video, is I had a dream that night, or a couple nights after that. And I don't really have dreams I occasionally will have a dream that's more special, but I hardly ever remember my dreams. I have always had a lot of nightmares, and I don't really experience really amazing dreams very often. But this one in particular is really strange, because I woke up in the middle of the night from it, feeling like I should write it down. And that never happens, because I didn't want to forget about it. So that made me think that it wasn't just any dream. It was a special, important dream. In this dream, I was going into a room that my daughter was calling me into the room. She's 3 years old, so she doesn't, she can speak, but a lot of the time she's living, in reality, and then other times she's living in her made up world. So, she'll say she'll see a giraffe in the middle of the city, how it goes. She's a toddler. So she's calling me into this room, and it's dark. I don't know. It's not our house. It's just some other room. And she's talking to someone that I can't see. And at first, I am a little afraid, because I don't really know what's going on. And she's saying these words, but I don't recognize them. I don't know what she's saying. But then she says something like, look, Mom, it's this person. And she says a name. And the reason I know it's a name is because in the dream, I recognized that was a word that she kept that she had said it before. And I always thought it was some jibber jabber that she made up. But I realized then that it was a name, and that it wasn't like any language that I'd heard. So I can't really reproduce it. I don't really remember what it sounded like, or if it was even a sound. But she was familiar with this spirit, but I want to say it was an angel, because it just felt so good. And she was happy to see this person. And she was familiar with this person and was happy, and was like, Mom, you gotta come talk to this person. And I woke up, and the next day I'm telling my mom about this dream. And I was like, I couldn't really interpret it. I don't really get what happened. I'd never had a dream like that before. And obviously I didn't see who it was, so it was kind of strange. But my mom said, maybe it was that same ancestor that we felt like that I'd felt that I'd done the work for the other day, and that I'd felt she was really close to us, and that maybe she was telling us that she was there with you during that experience, the one that I related before, that I didn't go into detail. So I have been thinking a lot about how the angels have charge over us, and how God is a God of miracles. And I think that, splitting the oceans open, and these huge things that we read in the scriptures have stopped happening. But I have experienced miracles in my own life and the ministering of angels. And this has just been on my mind so strongly lately that I'd like to share some of the things with you. And I hope that this resonates with somebody out there. I don't know exactly the purpose of sharing this experience, especially because I wouldn't share this with just anyone, because this is so special and so important to me that I don't want to make light of it, and I don't want to not do it justice. And also, people might think that I'm just insane, like that I'm just making this up, or that this never happened, or it was all in my head. Yeah, but the near-death experiences, they have actually happened, and like this is all, the miracles have definitely happened, even if people don't believe it. And this also has happened, even if people don't believe it. I'm rambling, but okay, so let me get into Elder Holland's talk. And the reason this has stuck with me, and I thought I would share about this talk, let me minimize myself a little, is because as I read it again to prepare for this video, I realized it doesn't mention angels very much. It just mentions angels like once. And I thought this whole talk was about angels. Like, it was so strange, because the first time I watched it during conference, I was like, wow, like, it's angels. Like, I've experienced this. I know this. But now that I read it again and I studied it again, it's obviously more focused on prayer than the ministering of angels. But just the one line that had stuck with me. All of my notes are gone because it logged me out. Let me log back in. Okay, so I've logged back in, and now I got my notes. But the part that stuck with me, it was at the very, very end, where he says, he's talking about how he felt that he came back to life to do his ministering more urgently. I thought this was so incredible, just to know that Elder Holland had this, out-of-body experience was incredible. Just to, he didn't go into detail, but I'd love to know what happened then. But he, he's talking about how you got to be more urgent disciples of Christ and be more anxiously engaged, I guess. And then he's talking about how we have help to accomplish this task. And then he says, we need to believe in angels and miracles and the promises of the holy priesthood. He only said this once, but this stuck with me, I guess, because of all the stuff that I'd experienced. And then there was this interview in the church news podcast where Sherry Dew was interviewing President Holland. And it's a long interview, but there's this one part where she's asking him about how, if he's got any different insights about his late wife recently passed away, if he sees any of that any different. And it's interesting that he says he does, even though I thought it was interesting, because I wouldn't think that he would see things much different, because she just left. I don't know how to really express what I mean, but I thought it was surprising that he said it was different. He had different insights about her and her marriage in the future and eternity. But I thought it was so interesting that there's this line here where he says, "And most often, when I have been sleeping, or deep, or away, or one foot in that world, then I just really think she's nearby, and I cherish that." I think this is so cool, because I obviously, we don't know if Elder Holland is going to die soon. He said in his talk that he had been gifted another a few weeks or months in this mortality, but obviously we don't know that. But the one foot in that world is a really deep statement, and to feel that his wife is nearby, it just made me think about my experience with this ancestor or other ancestors, that they are actually closer to us than they may actually be closer to us than we realize, and participate more in our lives than we are aware of. And then, just I guess to close this, this quote from President Nelson from Rejoice in the Gift of Priesthood Keys, where he says, "We are instructed that all who worship in the temple will have the power of God and angels having charge over them. How much does it increase your confidence to know that as an endowed woman or man, armed with the power of God, you do not have to face life alone? What courage does it give you to know that angels will really help you?" And this is not what had stuck with me when I first watched this talk. For some reason, it didn't. I don't know. This says angels twice more than than Elder Holland's talk, but for whatever reason, it didn't stick with me the first time. But angels will really help you. It's so. I'm gonna put myself a little bit here in the center, so it feels like I'm talking to you. But angels will really help you, just like they helped me. I know that miracles come from the power of God, and that they're dependent on the faith of the people asking for them. But miracles do still happen, and if they are the will of God, if we ask not amiss, if we're asking for good things, there's no limit to what we can pray for, and wait upon the Lord to see if he deems it that we should get it. But I guess finishing up, I want to say that if you need a miracle in your life, and if you need the help from the angels, dedicating yourself to helping your ancestors would, dedicating myself to helping my ancestors is my first, I guess, the first thing that I think of, to have a different line of defense. And in that dream where I saw how my daughter was so familiar with this angel or spirit, made me realize that our ancestors are just as engaged, or maybe more engaged in our lives as we are on theirs, and they want to help us, and God has made it a way for them to do so, and for us to do so, and for us to really rely on each other. So this is what I wanted to leave with you today. I'm sorry if it didn't make a lot of sense. I have tried from the bottom of my heart to express what I feel, but I don't know. I haven't watched this yet, but I don't feel that I was, maybe I didn't express this as well as I wanted to, but I hope that the Holy Ghost will bridge the gap between what I'm saying and what you're hearing. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I know that the heavens are open, just like the title from this book from Sister Wendy Nelson, and that God is in an anxious pursuit of everyone, and He wants us to reach out to Him with anything that we need help with. So this is what I leave with you, and I'll see you guys next time.